Hey. Welcome to the early game jungle course. It's the first series that I'll be doing about the early game, and make sure that you watch till the end because at the end I have notes on what you have to improve on. So I'll have literally written down like 1, 2, 3 the things you have to work on after you've watched the video. Okay. So the first lesson consists of basically, first of all, knowing how the pathing is. Okay. So first of all, what is your pathing? That's like the most important thing in the game, which is recognize the win condition. So you might be wondering, how do you recognize a win condition, right? So basically, I opened a pick and ban sheet for you guys. So I have a full screen here. So okay, so let's start with first of all draft. Then we talk about win condition, and then we talk about the game. Because honestly, before the game starts, here's the thing: it already starts in draft. Not when you enter the game, it starts in draft. Okay, so you mentioned an OTP. I would highly recommend if you're an OTP to at least have 2 champions. And the main reason why is because in solo queue especially, okay, you don't decide the team comp. So let's have an example like this, okay? Your top lane's Fiora OTP, your mid lane's Akshan OTP, and they can't play anything else. What you as a jungler have to do is recognize, okay, if I have this team composition, what is possibly the best jungler that can fit in to have a good team composition? So let's say you're playing this, okay? Let's say your Kaz is OTP or Rengar OTP. And boom, you pick Arcadis here, or boom, you pick a Rengar here. You have no CC, you're full AD, and it's so bad. So the first thing in draft that you really have to do is always hover the champion you want to play. That's one. Because let's say you are 5 pick, okay, and you're not hovering which champion you want to play. So let's say, I don't know, you're playing Rengar here, and... Oh, wait, I have to remove this. So let's say you play Rengar here, okay? And you don't see anything. And you're not even hovering your champion, and your team happen to be OTPs, what's going to happen is that this might actually happen, you know? So you really always want to hover your champion, okay? That's like super important. So your team can adjust to you. So here's the thing, it won't always happen, right? So what you can do in every draft is making sure that you write, hey, what are you guys playing? Because you measure any, or, okay, let's say, fuck, I already took it. Okay, let's say your mid lane is like an Iranian solo OTP, okay? And your top lane is like Gragas OTP. Actually, okay, another AP champion. Okay, let's say your top lane is on which champ's AP? Okay, Gwen OTP, like whatever, right? When you're 5 picking, and let's say you're a Kaz OTP, it's just nice to know that, okay, if they're gonna go AP, I wanna go AD or something. Or, yeah, basically that's it, basically. You really wanna know what they're gonna be picking, because if you know what they're picking, it becomes so much easier, because some games you'll have the first pick, and it's the first pick Kha'Zix, and if your team is going full AD afterwards, which can always happen, you are not gonna enjoy the game, right? So, in the draft, make sure you always, I'll write it down as well for you guys, but I'll write it down at the end, like, hover your champion you want to play. If you're early picking, ask your laners what they want to play. It's that simple. Because by knowing what your laners want to play, you can actually pick the right champion, and it's going to be nicer. And especially if you're early picking, it would be good that you pick the right champ with the right like the right combination. You know, let's say Aatrox mid lane is Aatrox OTP. You don't want to have a Kaz Aatrox mid lane. That's just not it, right? So make sure you do that, especially in draft, because it's important. Like, here's the thing: if you're low elo, draft doesn't matter as much, but the higher elo it gets, the more it matters. And even though lower elo doesn't matter as much, it still matters. So it's like, it's still pretty important. So the wonder thing I was going to talk about is that you need to be able to identify how to break down lanes. So I'll just give an example, okay? Let's say you have an Elise here, and you have a really broken mid lane. Let's say something like, what's the most broken mid lane? Okay, whatever. Let's say Elise solid mid. Let's say this is like Super Saiyan combo, or like Z Elise, whatever. And enemy has like any plus Gragas. Okay? So you have Elise, and Z, you're playing as Gragas any. So what you have to be able to break down is that, okay, let's say Eddie is a Karma, and you have, I was gonna do a pretty troll shit, but let's say like the most useless shit bowling. Okay, let's say your bowling is getting completely fisted, okay? So what is really important is that you're able to break down laning phases. With what I mean with break down laning phases is that, okay, let's say enemy top lane is really shit. Enemy top lane happens to be, what's the shit top lane, guys? Okay, let's say enemy happen to be a Kane top laner, like whatever, right? As a jungler, even if your team comes in shit, it's really important to break down like how's your 2v2 top, how's your 2v2 mid, and how's your 3v3 bot. That's the number one thing you have to think about. So before you look at team composition, you look at, okay, do we win 2v2, do we win 3v3? So the most important thing is here. Let's say you're winning 2v2 mid lane, okay, and your bot lane is losing. What you want to be doing is transitioning your mid pressure into bot lane, and ideally not go bot, because imagine you go against Gragas as your Karma and you gang bot, you might get fucked, right? The only time you can go bot is if enemies like not there and you see them on the ward, but that's if they're just playing bad, right? So you need to be able to identify what your win condition is like. So where do you win 2v2, 3v3, etc. That's like super important as well. So before the game starts, you have to identify, okay, what is my win condition? So if you know these things, then it becomes a lot easier, because then you know, okay, on mid we should win, on bot we should win, and maybe at bot pre-6 you don't win, but after 6 you win. Let's say, I don't know, let's say if a Jaime virus, okay, like, I was gonna pop it there, Jaime virus. Okay, just visualize that these champs pre-6 are complete potatoes, okay, but after 6 is strong. Like, just thinking about these things help your game as well. And this is just super important to understand drafting. I'll just do like another draft real quick as well. Seriously, look at this team composition, okay? In this team composition, when your solo lanes have like double AP, what you always want to do is just have like an AD champion. If you're Needly OTP, for example, and you have to play Needly with these comps, champs is not good. What's going to happen very often in drafts is that you don't know what your lanes are going to pick. So if you don't know, ask your lanes, hey, what do you guys want to play? Then you see basically what they're playing, which is why hovering champs help so much. So let's say you're a 2-trick pony, you have like Needly and Kirin in your champ pool, you'll be able to decide which champ you want to pick early. Especially if, let's say, you're first picking here and you don't see anything, you want to make sure that you see that your team is hovering like at least a Kian or something instead of a Gragas, right? So remember that. It's super important before the game starts that you have to look at the draft, okay? So, okay, after talking about draft, I'll explain a little bit as well about win conditions, because it can get pretty complicated. So here's the thing. If matchups are like this, okay, it's pretty volatile, okay? Like, look at this. I'm not even going to include dual matchups, like, it's just not even needed here. So there's like 3 scenarios. It's like a ranged against ranged body matchup, a melee against melee body matchup, okay? And a ranged against a melee matchup. Those are usually 3 matchups, okay? So let's say in this case, it's ranged against ranged. So here's the thing with ranged against ranged is that as a jungler, you have to identify which ranged against ranged has the push. If you know which lane has the push, you either know if you have to like gank them because they have the push, or just cover them for like a dive or whatever it is, right? But usually, if it's a range against range matchup, you want to be pathing towards that lane. Just saying, okay? Because range against range becomes pretty volatile. They're going to poke each other, they're going to push, and one of the 2 lanes is going to have the push, and whoever's pushing and that doesn't work properly is going to die. And the thing is, well, if you're not pathing to your range top lane, what's going to happen is that if they know you're pathing, the moment they see you on mid or top, they're going to play so aggressive and they're going to hump your bot lane. And you might as well know if your range bot lane falls behind, the game becomes quite hard, okay? So usually on path towards bot side. But here's the thing. Top lane might, let's say, be a Fiora and Camille matchup, right? So it's range against range and top lane is volatile. So you might wonder, where the fuck do I go? Top lane snowbally and bot lane snowbally. So here's the rule. If both top laners have Ignite, you definitely path top, because it's going to be so volatile that if someone just takes a bad trade and they die, they don't teleport, it is out of the game. And hopefully ranged top lane is going to be able to survive. And it depends on bot lane matchup as well, but most time, if it's Ignite against Ignite and it's range matchup, you can definitely look to path towards top side. But if both top lanes have teleport, and, well, if both top lanes teleport, worst case you can teleport back, so then you can still path towards bot side, okay? So this is like another situation where, let's say, you have Draven Leona against, let's say, Ezreal Karma. I'm just gonna, like, Lucian Nami, like, whatever, right? Like, Lucian and Nami. So let's say top lane once again is volatile, okay? I'm just gonna make multiple scenarios, but okay. Let's say top lane once again is volatile. So here's the thing. If I am playing, I don't know, let's say Elise on this side, okay? I don't know, enemy is Gragas, okay. So let's say bot lane is this, okay? Lucian, Nami, and they have this. So here's the thing. Usually in these matchups, right? Both junglers have to path bot side anyway. Do you know why? Because if Lucian Nami doesn't play aggressive and don't really make use of the range matchup, and if Draven Leona gets the push, they get the free laning phase, and the moment these champions get 6, they will one-shot them. If Lucian now is, let's say, getting I mean, they don't have to get an advantage, but it's an example. Most ranged matchups want to get advantage, and if they don't get it, they're gonna get cooked. So here's the thing. As Elise, or even if I like, let's say, a Kha'Zix, right? Like, ideally, what you want to be doing, right? And, one thing that's super important, okay? So as Kha'Zix, okay, let's say we're blue side. So as you can see, we're blue side here. Especially in this matchup, this is super important, okay? If you're like a melee matchup against ranged matchup, and you're playing blue side, pay attention to this game. So look, I have here a perfect example of like I'm playing melee. Melee matchup against the range matchup. I'm playing as Lulu plus something. I have a melee matchup, right? And here's the thing: if that is the matchup, you want to be looking to get a ball leash on blue side, okay? Because on blue side, if enemy jungler has a range matchup, if enemy jungler, right, he has to path towards bot side, right? Because it's a range matchup, he should ideally be around bot side. He wants to make sure he can cover them, so they can play aggressive. So by you asking for a leash, and if enemy jungler starts top side, if you do 3 camps into bot side camps, so 3 camp into a gank, what's going to happen is that you will be able to gank bot before the jungler arrives, and you will be able to kill the enemy bot laner. So by you getting a leash, of course, as well, your bot is going to get pushed in, and because they're getting pushed in, you can gank them. So here's the thing. The counter to this of the enemy team is to ward not the river, they have to ward the tri-bush, right? But if they ward the tri-bush, what you can do as a jungler is just go over the pit if you have jump champ. If not, just walk around. Like, I'll just open Epic Pen. So like, you can walk around like either this, right, and gank them. Because a lot of blends, what they're gonna do in any elo, they're either gonna ward the river here shallow, but you have to see how long they're missing. If they're missing for really long, that means they ward a tri-bush. If they're really fast back on lane, that means they ward the river. But here's the thing. If they ward the river here, okay, and their wave position is like this, okay, because they're pushing. Let's say that the ward here in the river. That river ward is not going to save them, especially if you have a melee support, because usually melee support has a CC, right? So the moment you start walking out of here, and let's say they have a ward here, okay, they start seeing me now. But the most important thing that you ping your bowling on the way, when one, they hit level 2, and once they hit level 2, then you want to go in. Just keep that in mind, level 2 is 6 minions and 3 melee minions, so you can count that. And that's the moment you want to gank them. So one thing you want to make sure of is that when you're going to gank bot lane, okay, please don't instantly ping on the way right now. What your lanes are going to do is like they're going to instantly go in now. You just don't want to ping at all, okay? You just want to walk on them. And then once you're like a bit more behind them, and you're like, okay, like this is a good position right now because I have a ward here to see me now. Now start walking up. Now we can start ping. Okay, now walk up. So it's not as obvious. So you can do this pathing if you're on blue side, if you have melee against a ranged matchup. But most of the times, if you have melee matchup, you should find creative pathings to fuck them up. It is an example, okay? So talking about team composition. So in a draft like this as well, right? Why I said like important to have 2 champions is that if, let's say, you have no CC at all, let's say this guy's an Aatrox, okay? You don't really want to have like a Nidalee Z Aatrox. So if you have no CC in team composition, I'll just remove my bot lane. Let's say I'm just judging from top side. Ideally, a Gragas here would be really nice. Because especially if you gank and you have a CC, it just creates so much kill pressure. But let's say I pick a champion that doesn't have a gank setup, okay? Let's say I just pick which champions like no CC and AP. Okay. I mean, a lot of don't have CC, I guess, but let's say fuck. Okay, let's say Karthus, okay? I mean, Karthus works, but you're basically playing for yourself. You farm till 6, but ganking is like pretty difficult. Which is why just having the older OTP that you should be playing, if it's AP, should be ideally a champ that has CC, because I think it never hurts to have like 2 CC. Imagine if like a Kiana plus Gragas, at least you have 2 CC. But if you play a champ that doesn't provide CC, it's not as good, and Gragas just fits in more team compositions, right? So this is super important before the game starts, and just keep those things in mind. So I will give you guys a sticky notes on. I mean, sorry, not sticky notes, but the notes is important. So the rules of drafting. Okay, I was gonna open it wide for you guys. So number 1, hover the champ you want to play. So number 2 is if you're early picking, ask the lanes what they want to play, because you want to pick the right champion with the laner together, right? That's like super important. So number 3, of course, after you see the whole draft, right? You have to figure out where do I win 2v2/3v3 and which lane would I like to play for. I mean, but I'll elaborate this further in my next video, but this is before the game starts, is draft. Or when we champion to play. If you're early picking, ask your lanes what they want to play, so you know if you have to pick like, I don't know, an AP champ, an AD champ. So AP or AD champ, okay, and this is super important. So the number 3 is like, where do you want to basically play? Like, do you win 2v2, like, on which lanes, basically, okay? So before the game starts, already do this in champ select. It's super important. I would say, yeah, I'll actually just keep this. I'll make a next video about just about the win conditions in the game and options of pathing, and that's my next video, okay? Which is going to even be more important. So this is my first video of the guide, but I'll be making another one soon. So peace, boys. If you have questions, feel free to ask.